Alright, now I'm back finally again with the next team. The last few that got A pluses in this year's draft, 2014. And without further ado, with the delayed video here, I had the Steelers. Another good draft for them. Really the best one in a while. I mean, this draft is so deep, it was difficult for teams not to have good drafts. So some got A pluses on default. Their default pick to go with was 15th overall, Ryan Shazier, outside linebacker out of Ohio State. A lot of people, I think it was one particular analyst said he saw him as a Derek Brooks clone. He's an outside pass rusher guy, kind of like, a physical freak on the field for Ohio State, and helped make a lot of big plays for them. Very disruptive in the backfield. I think he's like 6'1", 6'2", not super tall, but just like Jarvis Jones, but from a different school, of course. In this case, they Big Ten. Not a bad pick for them there. Their second pick was Stephon Tuitt, number 46 overall. Again, a player that could have gone in the first 10 or 20, 30 picks in the first round. Definitely out of Notre Dame. Big guy, 6'5", a little bit over 300 pounds. Really that 3-down lineman. You want to put in a 3-4, and they picked him up to install him to take over for guys who have been gone, like Kima von Hoffen and other players there, of course. Hampton up the middle, Brett Kiesel, with his playing through injuries and all. So they got someone to build there for the future and the mold, bring along. Another good pick after that was Jaya Archer, number 97 overall. Their third pick was all right in that way. I mean, they could use some more players on offense, scat back type guys, could play with slot and stuff like that. But I just thought he was a little too high there. He's like 5'7" or 8". He's very fast, but coming out of Kent State, just not that big of a school. It's not that great of a year he had. He had a good year, but the size is really gonna hurt in the NFL. So we'll see how he transitions in the next year or so. Then they got Martavis Bryant, 118th overall, with their next pick, the fourth pick. Didn't surprise me. They needed a big guy. Lima Sweet never really panned out. He turned out to be more injury prone than anything else. But they got another 6'5" guy out of Clemson. Same place that DeAndre Hopkins came from. Of course, Sammy Watkins came out this year as well. And so far, he's been putting up some stats late in the season. So I thought it was an okay pick. I think it was going to turn out to play dividends so early. So he's really coming along, taking advantage of some mismatches and busted plays as a rookie, which is better than nothing. Their next pick was Shaquille Richardson, cornerback out of Arizona. Not a bad pick. They need cornerbacks with Ike Taylor departing eventually. Some people say he's got like one more year left in him as they restructure his contract at some point here, which is, something I'm not really surprised with. He's been in the league for a long time, been able to keep his speed, big tall. I think he's like 6 foot on the nose. But Polamalu's getting older. He's getting older. Ryan Clark had to go. Deshae Townsend isn't around anymore. Guys have come and gone, but he stayed there the whole time. But I think it might be a decent pick with Shaquille Richardson. He probably won't be as good as Ike Taylor, but they do need help there. Then after that was their next pick, Wesley Johnson, interior lineman out of Vanderbilt, with the 173rd overall pick. Richardson being the 157th. With this pick, late in the draft, still in his first two top 200 picks. Not a bad value here. Can't go wrong with offensive linemen, especially from a more named school from at the SEC. And I think he played center and guard. They're probably going to put him at guard because I'm not too low on Pouncey. They may not be as high as they were at first. And the brother that's in Miami's been playing pretty good himself. But he just dealt with some injuries. Even since his rookie year, though, he's been very good. So they definitely probably could put him at right guard, maybe left. But for now, I don't know if he's been starting so far this year. Then they had Jordan Zumwalt they picked with the 192nd pick overall. Linebacker out of UCLA. I thought he was an outside linebacker, like a left, weak, strong side linebacker, but said it'd be a strong side outside linebacker. Looks like he might be playing inside for them because they do have Shazier, they do have Jones, Worlds. So I guess he might be sharing times with Timmons or backing him up. I haven't heard anything what he's been doing this year, so maybe he's just playing special teams. Not a terrible pick. I mean, he came from a big name school, but I haven't heard anything bad about him. They could have gone a few different directions at that point. Then with their last two picks in the draft, they got Daniel McCullers, 215 overall, a big steal. He fell out the top 200 almost. at the draft altogether. I think he's like 6'5". Yeah, maybe taller, but I think he's like 6'5", over 300 pounds. Defensive tackle out of Tennessee. Big, huge, strong guy, but just maybe wasn't, as flashy on tape. Put up, lots of stats or had an impact that was so visible, like, Ndamukong Suh a few years ago. But definitely has the size, the frame to maybe get a little bit bigger, get a little bit stronger and slim down a little bit if they need him to do that. If they want him to pay on the end as opposed to up the middle. To take over for, guys like Casey Hampton who isn't there anymore. Overall, that was a good pick. It was a bit of a steal. It was their one steal to me. I mean, he shouldn't have dropped that far. I think it's a shame they got Shazier and even Stephon Tuitt in the beginning, but those guys were going to go high. They just fell to them. But Daniel McCullers shouldn't have gotten that far, I think. Then their last pick was Rob Blanchflower, 230th overall. I want to say Blanchflower is like from, I want to say Colorado State, I should say. I want to say Colorado State, the Rams there, because Colorado is the Buffaloes. Not a bad pick. They could use a tight end. They've had Heath Taylor for about 10 years now. He's been very serviceable for them, but I'd say he's never been a guy to really, have a breakout year and really get it, to really understand and, become a superstar. He's just, a good player, not a star or anything like that. But definitely, good value, good production out of him, but they're looking for depth with, or someone to, follow in his footsteps with Rob Blanchflower. And they did some damage in undrafted free agency. They got defensive lineman Ethan Hamer. Not a bad pick there. Defensive tackle that I think going before the draft, before, early into the season for college this past 2013, was maybe higher rated than he ended up. But not a bad pick to get an undrafted free agency, put him to the practice squad wherever he may be now. I don't know if he's on the roster at this point, week 13 or 14, I should say. Then they had defensive end Josh Mauro, and I know he came out of Stanford. Kind of fell out the draft. I mean, he wasn't that imposing. He dominated usually on weaker opponents. I want to say, I don't know if it was Wesley Johnson, coincidentally too, but it was like other, linemen that went in the draft that were interior linemen that he kind of like manhandled. But it was like no one rated in like the top 5 centers or top 5 guards, I don't think. At least not my top 5, what I would think would be a consensus. But definitely not a bad pick from a top defense right there with Michigan State last year. We'll see how he does this year, if he's gotten any playing time or if he will by the end of the year. And then they got another tight end, Eric Waters out of Missouri, another fast, tall guy that, is, offensive, takes advantage of guys with his speed with a mismatch against linebackers or even safeties. With the way tight ends are used so much, I'm surprised he didn't go in the draft, but I guess people like, really short receivers like 5'7" Jeremy Gallon, who's playing in the Canadian League now, so far be it from me to be right about these things, but I guess, for example, a team like the Patriots want to go that route as opposed to backing up Gronkowski with his, recent injuries and the loss of Aaron Hernandez. But when you fall to the Steelers, so they have 2 tight ends in this rookie class. All in all, I think they got an A+. I mean, they didn't really miss anything. I mean, I think they could have got better value for the same positions in different spots if they would have maybe got a receiver higher, or if they'd have waited on a running back or got a running back earlier. But the first, 3 out of 4 picks, Shazier, then Tuitt, then Bryant, not bad. 3 different schools, 3 different positions. Actually, 3 different areas: linebacker cores, and receivers. So 3 different levels, 2 on defense and 1 on offense. So they definitely had some diversity in their picks. Part of the reason why I give them an A+ here, which is a shame because that's going to make him better going forward. Roethlisberger looks really good towards the end of his career here. He got more than a couple years left, especially if he plays like this and starts taking all these hits. He starts running around and having good completion percentage and touchdown and interception ratio. All in all, great draft for them. And again, Ethan Hamer was at Wisconsin. Now I remember. Didn't have it here, but he's at Wisconsin. Defensive line there. Again, stay tuned for the next video of the last 2 or 3 teams that I feel got A+ in the 2014 NFL Draft.